All right. Well, welcome to episode 2 of the Zoo Boys podcast. We are in person today.
That's right.
Which is not usual and likely will not be usual
No,
going forward.
Probably not.
But yeah, we're in person today, so hopefully this is not the worst looking thing ever. Hopefully the audio is okay. But today we're going to be talking about invasive species and specifically how zoos manage them and how we should go about advocating for their welfare and things like that. We also are going to be breaking down into our couple other topics, including we're going to be talking about Punch the Monkey, the viral Japanese macaque out in a Japanese zoo. And we will also be talking about other things probably just as we go. But the main topic today is going to be invasive species. But first, we should probably talk about the thing that's on everybody's mind, and that's Punch the Monkey. For those who don't know who Punch the Monkey is, it is a monkey in, I should have looked up what zoo it is in. Do you guys know?
It's a city zoo in Japan. And we're going to butcher its pronunciation.
Probably.
We're dumb Americans. But it's a city zoo in Japan.
Okay. And it's a baby Japanese macaque who, from what I've gathered, it was abandoned by its mom.
Yeah, that's what they were saying.
Yeah. And so they gave it like a plush orangutan. And then he has gone viral online for being bullied by the other monkeys.
Yeah.
And now people are fighting for Punch's dignity. Now, obviously, as zookeepers, we have some thoughts on this. Probably not thoughts that most people would agree with all the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so do you guys want to get started? John, I know, Quinn, you have the most to say
I have
about
a lot
this.
to say about this
So,
monkey.
John, do you want to give some of your thoughts on this monkey?
Sure. So I haven't done as much looking into Punch the Monkey as probably Quinn, our primate guy over there, has.
Yes, I have.
But from the little that I've seen about it, the first thing that drew my attention was the enclosure itself was the biggest draw. Because as you know, the three of us, we're trying to promote always the best welfare possible. A lot of times when we go to zoo trips, we always look at how the zoo creates the habitat for the species. And all of us are very much as natural as possible. That's what we love to see. Well, this really isn't as natural as possible. When you look at basically it's all concrete and stuff like that. So that always draws a red flag in terms of the husbandry and just, overall care of these animals and what situation they're in. So that was definitely the first thing that I drew my attention to. And just really just kind of heartbreaking because, obviously in a lot of zoos, like European zoos and, American zoos, we try to have higher standards. And I'm not saying that all like zoos from other parts of the world are necessarily bad, but Japan, unfortunately, does have a bit of a reputation for not having the best zoos, and this definitely kind of fits the bill. But I guess maybe Quinn, did you want to talk a little bit more about the primate
Quinn's
side?
sitting here.
I can see you. Like, why don't you just go?
Well, I did a bunch of research on this zoo, and I went through like pictures and stuff like that. And unfortunately, a lot of zoos in China and Japan and Asia, like a lot of Southeast Asian zoos, unfortunately, are not maybe up to the snuff that a lot of American zoos and European zoos are. I'm not saying that we're all perfect in the United States. We've all seen horrible roadside zoos, but it's a lot of concrete. It's a lot of very barren enclosures. And macaques are one of like the most studied primate that we have. People have done many, many, many hundreds of studies on macaques. And so we have a lot of data to pull from. And there's a couple great studies about how like keeping macaques in concrete environments without plants or vegetation or trees leads them to be way more aggressive. And if anyone's ever worked with macaques or any primate, you know that they can be pretty aggressive with each other. Monkeys are very confrontational with keepers, sometimes with each other. So you're already kind of on the losing side of things when the species is already confrontational. And on top of that, too, a lot of these animals are very hierarchical. So like in certain species of macaque, and I think snow monkey are one of them, the child inherits the rank that their mother has. And if the mother, so like a low-ranking female gives birth to a baby, that monkey's officially like, it's like low-ranking technically. Now, when it has no mother, it has no rank. It's like the bottom of the barrel. So, like, of course, it was going to get beat up. That being said, though, a monkey that is raised with just people, like if they were just hand raise it, it probably would become a psychopath too, because I have no idea how to interact with other monkeys. So, it's kind of a lose situation. I hope it brings more like coverage to the fact that like a lot of Japanese zoos have very low standards of welfare. That's what I'm hoping it brings to, and not just like, oh my god, it's so cute. This monkey is cuddling a stuffed animal. But for Punch himself, a lot of people are calling for him to be moved to a different facility. Some animal rights people are saying, oh, send him to a sanctuary. I don't know anything about the state of sanctuaries or zoos in Japan besides that they're not great. But what I would say is that there are many facilities. Monkey World in the UK is a great example of this, is when you have orphaned primates, like orphaned apes or monkeys or whatever, the best thing to do is to put them in a big group of other orphaned monkeys and apes. So if I were them, and this is, I don't know all the ins and outs of Japan, I would do is Japanese monkey is a native species, right?
Mhm.
There are probably rehabilitation centers with orphaned Japanese macaques in Japan. I would have to assume that, because that's how, like, people, just like in the United States, you find a mother raccoon hit by a car and then you bring the kids to an orphan. I would take that young Japanese macaque and I would try to pair them up with a bunch of other young Japanese macaques. And that way the playing field's all level. And then, of course, they would hopefully have a nicer enclosure. But, rehabilitation center, or even like other zoos probably have abandoned Japanese macaque youngsters that they can use.
Mhm.
I have to imagine it's a pretty common species that they would keep in Japan because it's native, you know?
Right.
So I would, if I were them, if I was the keeper, I'd be reaching out to rehab centers, other zoos, and be like, does anyone else have a group of young Japanese macaques that this young macaque can grow up with? That would probably be the healthiest thing for them.
Mhm.
That's my solution. So, Punch's keepers, if you ever hear this, some random nobody in New England, United States, that's how you should do it. Yeah, that's my armchair or keyboard warrior. That's my keyboard warrior.
I figured I'd just kind of talk about the concrete and just let you.
Yeah,
I could tell you were just ready to go.
I saw it and I was like, oh god. There are many studies about how even like lack of shade in the enclosure increases aggression. They're competing over that. And like monkeys, they like to manipulate stuff. There's two thoughts with keeping lots of primates. Either give them a bunch of stuff to destroy or make it a barren gunite concrete enclosure so they can't destroy anything.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, this facility is going the other way.
Right.
But that, that's very common for maybe older fashioned facilities.
Yeah. And also just we know that animal culture in Japan is very different than in the United States too. I mean, I'm sure, like, if you go down to Florida, I know they have a capybara cafe that just opened up. But that's obviously a really big thing in Japan. So obviously just the culture around exotic wildlife is different. We can sit here as Westerners all day and be like, hey, that's bad and you shouldn't do that. And obviously, I mean, that's the stance I think all three of us probably would take. Yeah. Like if you were going to be like, hey, you want to go to the raccoon cafe and
I'd say
it's not something that I would do if I was ever visiting Japan. No. But he who lives in glass houses should not cast the first stone either. Yeah. You can go to places like, I mean, go to 3/4 of the zoos in the United States and you'll find.
I'm sure many of them do keep primates by themselves,
right?
Because I don't know, it was easier, or they were someone's pet, or they continue to be someone's pet. Yeah. But we also want to advocate for the highest standards of welfare. Of course. I just feel like unfortunately, the internet is going to take the wrong message out of the situation. Yeah. They'll say that all the zoos are bad or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, there many need to be improved too, but maybe it'll be a call to action that the facility says, you know what, we need to build a new enclosure with trees and hot springs. That would be neat, and and give the monkeys what they need. Yeah. Or they'll be like, wow, we got lots of publicity.
Right.
Let's milk this as much as we can.
Fiona was like this, and so
or
it's
Mudang.
Right.
Classic,
I mean, it's unfortunate that this monkey is going through this. I think it's unfortunate that the internet has grappled onto this monkey
I'm
so
not
much.
even sure how that happened.
I just heard about it on Friday.
Yeah. No,
it's been all over my social media feed.
It just appeared one day.
They were like, look at this sad monkey. And it's like, doesn't that make you want to do something about it?
Yeah. makes me want to hug this monkey.
Obviously, this monkey should be someone's pet.
Right. I give me the monkey is kind of the.
Yeah, I don't know how true it is, but like Andrew Tate wants to buy the monkey. Yeah, it's like, man, whatever.
I believe he does.
So, any Japanese macaque rehabilitation centers get a big group of young macaques who are orphaned, put them in there, and then it'll be even out the playing field. And then, then you could live with them.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's no Japanese macaque rehabilitation.
Maybe.
And I'm just making up. I'm like, obviously there's this there.
Maybe you're solving a problem.
With
something
I'm going
that
to
doesn't
Japan
exist.
tomorrow to open up a Japanese macaque rehabilitation center. But who knows?
All right. Well, unless you guys have any other points of news.
I think John has some announcements on his projects that he's working on. If
Yeah.
you'd like to talk about that.
So yeah, I guess we're kind of leading. So just so you guys know, we're kind of trying to have a little bit more structure with the podcast. So that was kind of like our Zoo news. So we're going to start with that every week, and then any updates that we have going on in all our lives. So I guess this is where I start talking now. So as you guys know who follow me, I very much get into wildlife filmmaking. I have a great interest in it. And one thing I've expressed over on my Instagram is I'm working on some big projects this year. I actually just made a post about a week ago. I'm traveling out to Yellowstone National Park to hopefully film wolves for wolf tails, my local state park to try deer tails, and then going back to Serengeti National Park in September to film zebras in the wild and do zebra tails. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to look for that like David Attenborough-esque kind of documentary. Obviously, like I want to make it my own, but David Attenborough, as I'm sure all of us agree here, is a great inspiration.
Yeah.
For any kind of being a naturalist or wildlife documentarian. But what I really want to talk to you guys briefly about is because these projects are going to take a while to film, and I'm still doing research on these projects. I was thinking about doing a series on the side. So like as probably starting this spring, and then as these documentaries get filmed, it's kind of like filler space, so there's more content on the YouTube channel. So unfortunately, I don't have quite a name yet because I'm really struggling with the name. I've had many good suggestions, but I'm kind of weighing them out right now. But basically, the premise of this series is whether it's all three of us, myself, or just two of us, we're going out into the field, whether it's a state park, whether it's a lake somewhere, very good old natural, a wildlife sanctuary, whatever, to go and just kind of film with the target species in mind that we're looking for. I think primarily this series is going to be heavily on the birding side, which I know Quinn.
Love birds. Yep.
I actually reached out to Quinn last week about this, and I was like, Quinn, I have a proposal for you. And he was I loved it. He was like, let me hear it. I'm driving home from work right now. You can call me. I was like, great. So I was thinking about doing probably more of a focus on birds, but I think we'll also incorporate other species as well. But it's kind of just like going out into the field, looking for a particular animal, and then just kind of filming our journey along the way. And I think this would be an exciting opportunity to kind of, educate people a little bit about lesser known animals, especially if you live here in North America or the Northeast where we're from. You might learn a little bit more about the species that live out and around you. Like we could come across, I don't know, yellow-spotted salamander or northern harrier, just more obscure species to just kind of bring to your attention. And, Quinn is an excellent bird guy.
Thank you.
I'm not an ornithologist by any means. So oftentimes I've gone birding with Quinn and I rely on him when he asking him a lot of bird questions. So I'm sure you'll see Quinn a lot in the series, and then Colby will join as well. He seems like more big into if we're talking about maybe a deep sea fishing adventure or something.
There's a lot of birds out in the ocean too.
That's true. There's always birds.
Uh-huh.
You just live so far away.
Yeah, that's fair. But just to kind of give you guys an idea of what we're focused on the series is one of the few of the species I really want to search for is American woodcocks, which is, I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you're an avid naturalist, zookeeper, whatever, you know what an American woodcock is. It's that kind of plump. They're not really little. They're actually bigger than you expect.
They're like football size.
Yeah. They're actually a shorebird that lives inland in lots of brushy area near wetlands or rivers and stuff. A lot of grassy open areas, and they're known for their breeding behavior. They make the funny. There's been so many like memes and stuff about woodcocks. Like there's that video on YouTube where it has like that like rock and roll music goes like da na 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 me na 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 me. So yeah, everybody knows what a woodcock sounds like. But actually, in March, which is next month, is their breeding season starts. I'm hoping to start at least filming this series next month. Another species I really hope to highlight is the sandhill crane, which one of the filming locations we're actually hoping to go to Burridge Wildlife Management Area in Hanson, Halifax, Massachusetts. It's a beautiful place to go birding. It's a good mix of, there's some deciduous forest, but it's very open grassland, wetland areas as well. So you get a good variety of birds. I mean, Quinn's joined me on a few adventures there.
That's phenomenal birding.
Yeah.
That whole area is really neat because it's all old cranberry bogs or many of them are still active. It was
the world's oldest cranberry bog at one point.
Yeah. And that's phenomenal birding. And there's a lot of good like pine barrens out there. So a lot of diverse habitat for a lot of different species.
And the target species, I think there, at least the first adventure I'd like to do there is the sandhill crane, which has a lot of significant history to the state of Massachusetts, where I'm from. And I think that's a good species because that's like a very popular species for people when they want to go birding. And Burridge is a great spot. Like Quinn and I went out last April, I think.
Yeah.
And we came across, I think it was 3 of them, right?
They were
it was that stream. It was kind of like that stream wetland area that fed into one of the ponds there. So yeah, just kind of think it'd be a fun little series to do. Just kind of so there's more continuous content on the channel because I've been very busy the last few years, so it's the YouTube channel's been very stagnant. But I'm kind of trying to like figure out some things in life, and I think I'm a little bit more settled in life. So I'm hoping to devote more time and attention to filmmaking. But I'm very excited to start this series, and I'm very excited to start those filming those documentaries for you guys to just educate you guys and maybe connect a little bit more with the individual animal to make hope to make you want to think of making a difference in the lives of animals. So. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it with that series. I promise on the Instagram channel, once I come up with a name, I will let you guys know.
That's right.
But it's been a real struggle. So I promise once I'll give you guys more details on that. But I just wanted to tell you guys here on the podcast, so it's fresh in your brain.
Also, edited versions of these podcasts will come out on John's channel.
Yes.
We're just kind of using this to get a VOD out.
Yeah, we're kind of just like testing the waters a little bit because it's hard. Like we've talked about doing podcasts before over the years, but we all live in 3 different states, so it can be very hard, and we all have kind of different schedules, so it can be very difficult for us to schedule these things. So we're kind of trying to figure that out. We're hoping that we're going to pre-record these podcasts next time. And then release maybe, I think we were talking about potentially like Fridays or something like that, every other Friday. We'll let you guys know what the schedule. So we apologize that, things have been a little tough, but, life is tough.
There'll also be more structured at some point.
And that's why I kind of told you guys, mentioned like we'll have like the zoo news, talk a little bit about our lives, and then the main topic. But yeah, that's all I got.
All right. I think we're going to move on to our main topic of the day, which is invasive species.
Mm-hmm.
And we're coming from a very United States-centric mindset because that's just where we're from.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure other people have very different mindsets than us. But talking about invasive species, the management of them, and then also what the role of zoos is in the education of that. Because invasive species can be a really hard topic for lots of people.
Mm-hmm.
It requires many times killing animals that maybe we share our homes with, and it can be really hard to tell a guest that maybe culling a cat or a horse or something is something that needs to be done. So first off, how does everyone maybe talk a little bit about like in your own work at your facilities, how have you do you have any invasives that you've ever had to educate people about? Are there invasive species on property that you've had to teach people about? Are there any times that you've been able to engage the public about invasive species?
Yeah. You want me to start?
You start.
All right.
You probably have the least.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm trying to
starlings at Franklin Park.
I was trying to think of some. So where I work at Franklin Park Zoo, we don't, this is in Florida, it's New England, it gets cold, so we don't have all the crazy tropical critters that are roaming around the Everglades like Burmese pythons and tegus. But we do, especially in the springtime, get, when a lot of migratory bird species come in, and we have a lot of food that sits out on exhibit, birds take advantage of that. And one of those birds is definitely good old European starling.
Yep.
Is often, and another one we see throughout the entire year is the house sparrows, which a lot of people probably, honestly, I don't even know if they know they're invasive.
No, probably not.
Really.
Yeah, because you just see them at your bird feeder all the time. They're these little brown birds that you just assume that are from here, but they're not.
And we do have native sparrows too, which makes sense.
They look.
And a sparrow looks like a sparrow.
Exactly.
And I remember being a kid and my mom calling them like finches and stuff like that.
Yeah. You know. But another invasive, so does not have wings. So we deal with all the time. And I'm sure you guys have dealt with at your facilities or past facilities. Rats.
Oh yeah.
Is another, and that's like that's a tough one to manage for sure.
A little easier for guests to understand why.
Yes, because as people probably know, rats spread a lot of disease, and they often try to get into animal food, and sometimes
they're just gross
and
and
they're
yucky.
Yeah, and sometimes they might attack your animal.
Yeah, they can
as well.
They can totally.
I held a Temix tragopan as it bled to death in my arms after a rat attack.
Yeah.
So,
and a lot of times at my facility in the wintertime, what you'll see in the snow, blood on the ground, and we learned from our pest control management guy that rats often fight a lot in the wintertime competing for food, so it's very common to see just like blood trails in the snow from rats.
Yeah, actually, the other day in a big indoor barn, I found a rat with its throat ripped out by another rat, just right in the doorway. You know, it's brutal. Like, yeah.
I remember when I brought my coworkers last summer to to feed the giraffes.
Oh yeah.
And we're just sitting there, and all of a sudden, a rat hits the ground, and must have been a hawk or something up in the tree.
Was it dead?
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
But we're sitting there feeding the giraffe. My boss's stepson is there, like kind of playing in the grassy area, and all of a sudden it just whack, and he goes, "A rat just landed on my foot!"
I remember that. That's the same at Franklin Park. We have a lot of hawks, and now you know why.
It's a good wildlife habitat.
I mean, we had a rat issue a couple summers ago. Same kid, same poor stepson was like running around the backyard of the facility. We had like a party there.
Yep.
It was a birthday party, and so he was running around, and everyone was like, "Oh, look at him go!" All of a sudden, rat comes out from nowhere, runs over his foot, and dives under, and he comes back. He's like, "Ah!" I remember there was a rat that got caught in like a snap trap that was put out. I hate snap traps.
I hate snap traps too.
But I literally got a call. It was 5 a.m. I was on my way into work because I do outreach. So I had to come in to grab animals and go. I got a call from my boss's wife, and she goes, "I went out to feed the animals, and there is a rat that's not dead in the snap trap, and I can't bring myself to do it. And I live an hour away, so I had to now. The first thing I had to do was go put this poor rat out of its misery.
That's brutal.
Yeah, and I think that's important to note. That, like, we don't hate invasive species.
Nope.
Like, we don't want them to suffer and torture and die. There are many, good meaning outdoorsmen that I know that will like torture a feral pig or a nutria or whatever.
Cane
toad, yeah. And we while they're not good for the environment, we don't want them to suffer. You know? We're not here lighting them. We're zookeepers, we're animal lovers.
Yeah.
We're not here lighting rats on fire.
Yeah, you have to remember, it's not their fault that they're there.
Right.
Not at all.
People put them there.
Yeah. In very rare cases, is it their fault?
Right.
In situations like green crabs,
Oh,
that's on them.
That's a classic.
They hitched a ride.
Yeah.
But there's also, I think there's levels of invasive too, because there's introduced species and invasive species.
Correct. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't kind of make the distinction there.
Sure.
An invasive species is an animal that was introduced and causes an ecological threat to a habitat. For instance, here in Maine, we have mud puppies. They don't do shit.
Yeah, little salamanders.
So most people don't really consider them an invasive
I remember
species.
going in Unity. We went to was it Belgrade Lakes?
Yeah.
We went catching those in minnow traps.
Yeah.
Yeah. The guy said they worked at the Natural Resource Center. Yeah, these guys don't do anything.
Yeah. And like there's other introduced species like opossums in New England are an introduced species.
Yes, they are. They're another great example. It's in New England, not around here, but like monk parrots,
Mm-hmm.
like these little green parrots that I saw them living wild in Connecticut.
Yes.
There's no, they're not doing anything. They're not. If they are, it's very minimal.
Right.
They're probably mostly eating people's bird feeders and introduced fruit and stuff like that. They're not, as opposed to like, for example, I'm gonna dive right into it. Feral cats, incredibly invasive.
The single most invasive species
killing
on
millions
the planet.
and millions of birds, reptiles, small mammals. When they're introduced to islands that lack predators, they wipe out entire populations. Less in the United States, but a lot more in like Australia, Oceania. Like they've decimated species of shorebirds, decimated marsupials. And in the United States, still, our wildlife, like our prey species, are a little bit more predator aware than a lot of those ones are, but they still cause a lot of damage.
And even if they don't kill, that's the thing, is they carry disease.
Yeah. And honestly, so when I used to work in wildlife rehabilitation, we would have to, if it was caught by a cat, even if no puncture or anything on the bird or the small mammal, they would need to come in for antibiotics because there's so much bacteria in a cat's mouth that they could die from that. And I think there are many colonies of breeding feral cats that people are supporting, and there's also people's backyard outdoor cats that people just let in and out. People have barn cats too, and they think that's like, oh, it's getting rid of rats and mice and stuff like that.
When cats are like, there's study after study showing how terrible they are as mousers.
Yeah. And we, like, I think, John, do you have a cat?
No, never. I've actually never owned a cat.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
He hates cats.
Yeah,
we
cats.
like cats. Yeah.
I'm a dog person.
That's all right. I have cats, and I love my cat,
Mhm.
and I love Colby's cats are beautiful and wonderful.
Yeah, they're locked in the basement right
They
now.
are.
So they would be right here in front of us.
We like cats, and that being said, though, we have to be adults about the ecological problems that an outdoor feral cat causes.
And I think this brings a good point. Is people, I think, can take it, like understand it, like, oh, we got to take Burmese pythons out of the Everglades because Burmese pythons to most people are not cute and cuddly and soft. But cats, on the other hand, people love cats. They're cute. They're cuddly. How could you? I think that's where often there's the issue, is that there's just this disconnect that how could a cat cause so much damage when I think honestly, like house cats probably cause far more damage than a Burmese python in the Everglades does, because there's not Burmese pythons everywhere in the United States,
right?
But also, there are house cats everywhere,
or globally.
Yeah, globally,
and people aren't protecting Burmese pythons and then allowing, like, giving them food and shelter,
correct,
right?
And then they can go out and do whatever they want,
and giving legislation that prevents hunting of them.
Yeah. So people will bring up like trap neuter release is the best thing.
TNR.
Unfortunately, and someone can go in the comments and correct me if I'm wrong, but I have always read that there's never been a 100% proven total getting rid of a colony of feral cats through trap neuter release. And quite honestly, like, these cats live very brutal lives. They are, although they live feral, they are domestic animal that was evolved to live with people, and without the help of people, most outdoor cats don't live much more than a couple of years.
And just look at look at movies. Like when you see a cat out in the alley, they always look scraggly and just like, and it's because that's how they live. Like,
you're also referring to like the movie Cats.
The alley cats.
Yes, the movie. They look disgusting.
They got human faces. Talking about reincarnation.
We're talking about like Taylor Swift cat. Jason Derulo.
That's just a fat baby cat.
But cat. And then also TNR might be. Let's even give them the benefit of the doubt and say TNR prevents reproduction.
Sure.
Right? They still kill wildlife. They still spread disease. I mean, and diseases that affect people too.
Yeah.
It's not just like bacteria in the mouth. It's things like what's the name of the disease that their urine produces?
I can't remember. Another species carry parasites that are harmful to pregnant women.
Toxoplasmosis.
Well, also very toxic from a zookeeper's perspective to many animals, including marsupials.
Right.
So we have to always be very conscious about feral cats or cats in our collection.
Once in a while at Franklin Park, we've caught feral cats or cats that are probably just live in an apartment down the road in traps. Yeah,
and
it happens.
So I think it's all of our stance that we like what New Zealand and Australia are doing about their cats. Now, we believe that, and I think many zookeepers probably agree with
Mhm.
that. But here's a really hard problem: is that when you're doing a presentation,
Right.
like let's say we're doing a presentation and you have like an ambassador rabbit or something, just an example. And in New England, we have a New England cottontail, which is an endangered species.
Yep.
And you're trying to relay information about the New England cottontail to the public. And someone asks, they're an endangered species, and someone's like, well, why are they endangered? And habitat fragmentation, but also feral cats might be there. And it can be really hard to tell the public that they probably should be allowing us to cull these feral cats. So, like, have you guys ever encountered that?
All the time.
Yeah. So how do you address that? You
know? I mean, it kind of depends on the audience.
Sure.
So if I'm talking
you
to
tell a little kid, like, you should shoot your cat.
Shoot your cat. No, if I'm talking to like little kids, I'll usually just kind of say, don't let your cat out. You know, keep it in your house. Sure. Yeah, and then you also have to frame it as, you know, there's dangers out there for cats too. Yeah. Cats aren't exclusively dangerous. People get hit by cars. People are cruel and will shoot them. I know.
Oh, who would have?
Not even like to cull, but to shoot them. Like, how many cats every year get shot with arrows?
Well, think about it. You worked in an animal shelter. Yep. How many cruelty cases?
Yeah.
By the way, I don't shoot cats. I'm just gonna put that on the record.
Right.
But however,
controlled culling is different.
I can admire what New Zealand does without participating in it for legal reasons. You know,
controlled legal culling that is ethically done.
That's right.
Is different than torturing a cat by shooting an arrow through it.
And think about they probably rodenticide poisoning from eating poison rat.
That's a good one.
And the amount of coyotes,
predators,
fishers, bobcats, great horned owls. There are many, many people are like, well, they're upset in my house and they don't have the freedom. And like, well,
they don't have a cat.
They don't have, or like as zookeepers, we give lots of enrichment to our animals. My indoor cat gets lots of toys and catnip, and I have a little bird feeder set up so she wants the birds. And if you say, well, that's just not the real thing for it, maybe you can build a catio, or maybe you should just accept the fact that if you don't want to cause ecological damage, you got to keep that cat inside.
Also, I don't understand that because I have two cats. One of them was a feral cat that we took in. One of them has lived her entire life never going outside. She doesn't fucking do anything. I don't. What do you mean it's not a fulfilling life? It's a cat. They sleep 20 hours a day.
It's a domestic animal.
Right.
It's.
And then that's the other thing is they're domestic. They don't have an environmental niche. So you're not filling there. It's not like you letting your cat out lets an environmental niche be filled.
Right.
You're just adding in something that hunts for sport into an ecosystem that's not built for it.
Right. Yeah.
You're feeding coyotes.
Pretty much.
Coyotes are happy.
There's that meme that says I worked at an animal shelter and some guy kept coming in for cats and he goes, yeah, cat got eaten by a coyote and so I'm getting my kid a new cat. And they're like, you gonna keep it inside? And he's like, no. And then it's like, well, it sounds like you're just feeding the coyote.
And you know what? I think it's something from like when our grandparents were growing up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they've ever told, but they would just let their dogs free range.
Yeah.
They would dogs would just wander around.
I mean, growing up, I had an outside cat.
Yeah. And also but people would shoot dogs.
Right.
All the time.
Yep.
They would shoot. I worked for the state of Maine and game wardens would tell me like, oh yeah, like we used to legally be able to shoot a dog chasing a deer. Like that was I don't think you can do that anymore.
I don't think so.
But I'm sure there's some old game wardens that would look into it.
Probably.
But whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, but we as a society have gone like, we're not going to let our dogs run rampant in the streets, you know? So I think we're moving towards that where there's lots of educated people that go like, I'm not doing like pets are the new kids. You know what I mean? No one can afford kids, so they have pets. And I think that now we treat them so like that we aren't doing stuff like that.
Absolutely.
It's at least in our part of the world, you know. I think that's the way we're going. But very similarly, wild horses.
Yeah.
Another one. I feel very strongly about it.
Quinn has a lot of strong feelings in this episode.
Yeah, that's right. I'm going to have probably lots of strong feelings. I have a lot of strong feelings, guys.
Between the monkeys, the cats, and the horse. I knew the feral horses was
but like other feral livestock, feral pigs, you show a video of
no.
someone gunning down feral pigs on a
Yeah.
helicopter on Facebook. You know what most of the comments are?
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah! Where can I do that?
Get her done.
If you saw that for horses, you would be crucified for that.
You need what if 20 to 50 feral hogs?
Yeah.
That's why I need my AR-15. What
That's-
if 30 to 50 feral hogs appear in my backyard?
That's right. That's right. You got to gun them down. But there, a lot of people, they love feral horses. There's some on the West,
Yeah.
and there is a weird ecological argument, and I don't know how much water it holds. But many people are like, well, the horse used to live here. It's not the same species,
Right.
like the ancient Pleistocene horse
Right.
was here.
Right.
That being said, though, there's clear ecological damage from these horses being here,
Mhm.
and even if they were here, there's still we lack a lot of in Nevada. John, you like this one. A lot of those desert areas, it's lacking the Mexican gray wolf, the keystone species that would be hunting them.
And you know why they wiped them out? Because they kept eating the fucking
Yeah,
horses.
yeah, that's right. So they ate livestock. So even if the species that could a horse instead of being invasive be just an introduced
right.
and part of use, there are studies that I've seen that there's higher diversity of plants because horses are dispersing seeds.
Yep.
So there might be, but right now what we're having a problem with is that there's no good way of controlling those populations because they're using we can round them up and but then they go into the shelter system or they go into the horse slaughterhouse system and you just expedited the
It'd be better than having the feral horses is bring more bison back.
Yeah, bring more bison back.
More bison back.
And pronghorn and bighorn sheep and wolves and grizzlies and this is that would be
very pro wolf. Yes.
Yeah, we're very pro. Yeah, if you guys are anti-wolf, get the fuck out of here. But yeah, so that's feral cats, no wiggle room. Feral horses, maybe a little bit of wiggle room, but it's important that we don't we still need that control. There still needs to be control, and right now, the Bureau of Land Management just rounds up the horses and puts them in pens. And they either maybe get adopted or maybe get sent to slaughterhouses in Canada or Mexico. And that's a way worse life than getting shot.
I think there was some legislation that was going around recently about the wild horses. I forget. I think there was talk about weakening their whatever protections they have to be able to take better control. But a lot of, I'm sure, animal rights groups or environmental groups that I think have good intentions.
Sure.
But it's one of those things where you kind of have to look deeper and do more research and realize that there is a larger problem.
Well, John, I watched Spirits down the Cimarron,
right.
so
a classic.
And then another piece too is intensive ties to Native American culture and stuff like that. So gotta be careful about that. But who also have intensive ties to Native American cultures and needs to be restored across its range?
The bison.
The bison.
the wolf,
the
grizzly
bison,
bear, the elk.
You could make that argument for many species.
Yeah,
it's true.
Or we're just using it as a ploy to let cattle graze on public land.
Don't even get me started on that one. That's another big
anyway,
issue.
but so it can be, I think, hard for many zookeepers who have lots of these very intense opinions and are very well educated to go to the family that is just there for their nice day out.
Right.
Let me tell you what the feral horse problem. So we have to, and I think many animal people. I'm not saying this about you guys because you guys are wonderful educators, but many animal people might have a little bit hard time with rapport and people skills about being able to constructively educate someone about how the invasive is a problem.
I think another thing about invasives is there, like we were saying with the wild pigs, there's invasives that people hate and there's invasives that people refuse to accept are invasive.
Yeah, correct.
So cats and horses, they very much fall on if you've ever seen that PETA sign, right?
Oh,
it has all the animals. And
Where
it's
do you draw the line?
where do you draw the line?
It's right at pig, I think.
Right. But I think a lot of people have that where horses are on the side with the dogs and the cats.
Which is because in Europe they eat horses.
Yep.
Yeah.
In many countries they eat
I also
horses.
like that PETA put the bunny on this side of the horse because people very much eat
And
rabbit.
I'm sure a lot of people don't realize this. A lot of the meat that we feed out to zoo carnivores is
It's
often
horse.
horse
Yeah.
meat.
Yeah.
A lot of dog food.
Yeah.
Dog food. So.
And you know what's sad too? We want to talk about horse welfare. We're not allowed to kill horses in the United States, so they have to be shipped on very stressful trips to either Canada or Mexico to be killed in potentially not very nice slaughterhouses.
Right.
And horses sure, are they invasive yet? But they are intelligent. And I would say that they're more emotionally intelligent than a cow is, or something like that. So I'm sure they can hear their herd mates getting killed in front of them, and I'm sure it makes them panic a little bit.
Yeah.
Maybe probably more than a cow.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
I think, but yeah, there's other things, and something I found really interesting in the last couple of weeks was the iguana situation.
Oh, yeah.
Have you guys seen the iguana? So obviously, Florida had their cold snap, and every year for the Florida winter, the iguanas fall out of trees, and it's always been like a thing. Well, this year, a restaurant made tacos from the frozen iguanas and was selling them, and he made a TikTok about it. And people were going after him for being like, you should have rehabilitated those iguanas. Why did you kill them?
Yeah.
And I find it really strange because iguanas usually fall into the camp of ew, reptile, it's gross.
Yeah,
right.
But suddenly people are like on this guy for making iguana tacos when iguana meat is very much something that people eat.
Yeah,
right? I've never had iguana. I would definitely eat it if I got the chance.
Yep. It was very chickeny.
Yeah,
yeah,
I imagine.
Yeah.
And I have an iguana. I don't have one personally, but I work with an iguana. I think she's very sweet. She's one of my favorite reptiles that I work with.
Yeah.
But in Florida, they cause damage.
Yeah.
They eat, admittedly, all the invasive plants living in Florida.
Yeah. But they take over burrows that are for burrowing owls.
For tortoises and burrowing owls. They're large, and so they eat more food than other native species. And so what I think that taking the already stunned iguanas, ones that likely aren't going to recover anyway, and using it to feed people makes a lot of sense. And it's really funny because I was on my For You page doom scrolling on my day off,
of course,
and I saw that video, and literally right after it was a guy who spearfishes lionfish.
I'm sure everyone was
like, "This is awesome!"
Yeah,
and the first video, the guy making the tacos showed off the tacos. The guy with the lionfish shows him shooting spears through lionfish, and then stuffing them into a bag.
An animal that fish feel pain. I think we're beyond pretending that fish don't feel pain. Right.
They might feel it differently, but they feel it.
I mean, when you stab a fish, it wiggles around. Right. What would you call that?
So it's just, I find it really interesting that like a guy who's showing really good looking tacos is not okay, but a guy literally filming himself spearing a fish in the head, not killing them every time immediately either. And then stuffing it into a bag with 100 other lionfish where they're going to be stabbing each other with their spines. Right. And I'm not saying that that's bad. They need to cull lionfish, and it's very good that in Florida and the Caribbean it is legal and encouraged to cull lionfish.
Yeah, that's a major problem.
But I just think it's really funny that the internet is like this bad, this good, when they're both the same thing. Yeah. And the one that they're mad about is arguably more ethical than the one that they're excited about. Just like gunning feral hogs out of a helicopter.
Yeah.
Right? What's more ethical? A lot like just going out and organizing a mass euthanasia of feral cats, or putting some redneck in a chopper and letting him go full Rambo, right? Yeah. What's the more ethical option? Yeah. But why do we sell? And pigs are in that same line as cats, you would think.
Yes.
People love pigs.
Yeah.
I guess it's because we eat them, maybe?
Maybe it's because we call them hogs.
And hogs are ugly and scary.
Pigs are cute, but hogs.
Right.
But I think
30 to 50 of them in my backyard.
Going down. But I think it's really important as zoo educators that we kind of took that line of thought.
Yeah.
And one place like the gateway, in my opinion, for invasives is, and sometimes it requires a little bit more subtlety, and you got to get a little bit more in with the visitor, is starting with feral plants, invasive plants.
Yeah.
Being like, okay, so like you see like the burning bush plant, Japanese knotweed.
I was just gonna say Japanese knotweed.
Japanese Asian bittersweet, stuff that probably people don't like in their garden.
Right.
You can say like, and this is a big thing whenever I'm talking to people, it's like, hey, if you get rid of that and you plant like native dogwood bushes or echinacea flowers or milkweed or something like that, like you will be helping wildlife. Yeah. And I think killing plants, which is so much easier and nicer,
right,
is like a good gateway. It was my gateway into being like, oh, we should probably do this with plants too.
And Quinn brought up the Japanese knotweed, and I had a feeling this was going to come up.
Yeah.
This is an invasive we deal with all the time at Franklin Park
Yeah.
Zoo because it's on grounds everywhere. I drive on the highway, like in the warmer months. I see it everywhere.
And it chokes.
You know?
It chokes the
It
entire
chokes-
ecosystem.
it just basically nothing else can live where the Japanese knotweed lives. And it's a great plant to cull to give to zoo animals. Like, let me tell you, the giraffes love it.
It's great to eat
Love it.
too if you guys ever want to try
I've
it.
actually had it.
It's pretty good.
We've made it in I forget, it's like
You make it like as a pie or something.
yeah,
a
I
lot of
think
people
it's like a pie
do that. It's a
that
good
coworker
rhubarb
made.
substitute
Yes.
if anyone wants that.
But like it's a great
Asian bittersweet do not eat.
Yeah, that one.
but it was a great
I think
plant
no keeper that
to
used to
use
eat it.
for like giraffe public feeds
Yeah.
because it like allows like especially kids to hold on to something long while the giraffe strips the leaves. So
Yeah.
it's a great, and that's often actually a point where we do talk about invasive
See,
species.
what a
in the
great
giraffe.
segue, you know?
Because somebody's having fun enjoying the giraffe, and like we kind of talk about, by the way, that plant you're feeding is invasive. It like takes over very quickly. Because honestly, you cut up a Japanese knotweed, you think it's dead, you throw it on the ground, it sprouts.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those plants that's like indestructible. And we actually work with a local landscaping company down the road from Franklin Park Zoo. And they have Japanese knotweed all behind the back of their property. And they're like, you guys here from the zoo? Like, yes, like, oh, please take it all, take it all.
Mhm.
But of course, like we don't have the capacity to take it all at once. And, you cut the ends, a lot of some stuff grows back. But it's a lot of the best way we're trying to manage this invasive species. And like, these guys were saying, like, people are obviously going to look at killing a plant differently than an animal. But I think Quinn brought up a good point. That's a good way to kind of start making the connection about invasive species and how we manage invasive species.
It's also a really good way to start by like picking something people already hate.
Yes,
Yeah,
right. Common
Gardeners
ground.
hate it.
Common
Yeah.
ground.
Yeah.
Like even with animals, think about the animals that people hate, right? Insects.
Oh, spotted lanternfly.
it's a lot-
Everyone hates them.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to convince
So-
people to get on the kill invasive train with the spot. Unfortunately,
No, go ahead.
you want to say something. I
Yeah,
feel
go
so
ahead,
bad.
go ahead.
Unfortunately, kind of with what we were saying earlier, is people just torture the fuck out of
Yeah.
spotted lanternflies.
Yeah.
It's just-
Which is not like they'll rip off their legs,
Yeah,
they'll rip
that's-
off their wings, and that's just sadistic sociopath behavior.
Yeah, that's
Take your foot and just
so when a couple months ago, my girlfriend and I were going to a wedding down in Pennsylvania, we came across one of those in Connecticut. We just we're just standing there, all of a sudden one just flew down and just like quick, easy stop. Didn't need to do any of that
Yeah, don't-
unnecessary torture.
Not saying torture cats. Just saying. Do you guys like how we're like, oh yeah, so you're gonna kill Japanese knotweed and then spotted lanternflies, and then
Yeah. You're really trying to make that jump.
yeah. I'm just saying that like
Quinn skips every other vertebrate class.
yeah. I love my cat. My cat will never be shot by someone because I keep her inside
Mhm.
and she's protected there.
Right.
It's just, I think another thing that I wanted to talk about with invasives is just how should zoos advocate for it, right? And I think as an educator, especially, one of the ways that I'm able to get people on my side about things is to talk about, without mincing words, the damage that invasives create.
Of course.
So, like, I have a cane toad. I have like 3 cane toads. But I bring a cane toad. His name's Frank the Tank. He's amazing.
Nice.
Marine toad, for anyone who's going to get up in the comments and mad at me.
Is that their official name? If I
Yeah,
talk to a
kinda.
herpetology professor, should I call them marine toads?
Yeah, Bufo marinus.
Okay.
Maritinus.
Good to know.
Something like that.
Good to know.
Yeah. I call them a cane toad though because they don't live in the fucking ocean either.
yeah.
They're a fucking amphibian. They live in fresh water. So 2 misnomers. But I bring about the cane toad. I talk about how they were brought in as an environmentally friendly pest control to eat cane beetles. Cane beetles, of course, being another invasive species that preyed on sugarcane.
Mm-hmm.
But that cane beetles can fly and climb, and cane toads are, fucking massive.
Yeah.
Don't do that. So I talk about how they'll eat anything that's in front of them. Cane toads are not picky. Amphibians in general are not picky eaters.
Right.
I have had a white tree frog just this week eat my finger 3 times.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it happens, right? And now these cane toads that are the size of, of the soccer ball are going around. They're eating endangered marsupials. They're eating snakes. They're eating other things. They're also poisonous. So anything that eats them is now dying.
R.I.P. Kroll.
They lay
Krolls, yeah.
they lay 50,000 eggs at a time, which are also poisonous.
Right, yeah.
So it's really easy to kind of show people like, this is why we don't want this animal. And I'll talk about, would you want that animal in your backyard? And so for some animals and some plants, I think it's easy to convince people like, no, this is bad. Even Burmese pythons, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Burmese pythons
Snakes are bad and scary
Right.
anyways, right? So,
but they get 20 feet long,
Yeah.
they weigh hundreds of pounds. They can eat pretty much anything that lives in the Everglades. I always tell people they eat everything but the manatees.
Yeah.
Do they eat bears and panthers? Probably not, but there's not enough bears and panthers in Florida to eat anyway. But I always tell people they eat everything but the manatee. They eat the alligators. They eat the feral hogs, honestly.
Yes.
But they also eat foxes. There was a study done where increased Burmese python led to lower counts of bobcats, foxes, and raccoons in the Florida Everglades. Yeah. So it's easy to look at those and be like, Burmese python, spotted lanternfly, the Asian brown moth, which is something we have up here, the cane toad. These are all animals that are bad, right? But it is difficult to take that and be like, and also the animal you have in your house.
Yeah.
And then it's also really interesting because people will go, well, what about dogs? I don't know if you guys have ever gotten that.
About invasive dogs?
Yeah. Whenever I talk about invasive cats, I'll get someone who goes, but what about dogs? Not even like wondering, accusatorily.
So, but we in our part of the country, our part of the world, used to have feral dogs.
Right.
This is something I've never encountered feral dogs. Nope. We've been in the woods all of our lives. Never encountered
I've only ever seen them in Nassau. The only place
I would when I was in Tanzania, you would see feral dogs. Like I remember actually we were in the Ngorongoro crater, the rim, and there was a feral dog walking the road, and my guide said, "John, look over there. That's leopard food."
That's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen them in the Bahamas.
Yeah,
but
and I mean, well, those feral dogs in the islands, they eat sea turtle eggs, you know? And the problem with the domestic ferals is that they live with people, the more comfortable people that eat our garbage. Like we help booster their population.
Right.
And then, you know.
And then we ship them up to New England.
Yeah, we do that a lot, yeah.
The fucking Sado rescue. Ship off this terrified wild animal for all intents and purposes. And goes, all right, go live with some like white couple.
Yes.
Like little kids.
You're fine.
Like their entire life has been having like pots and pans thrown at them by some guy yelling Spanish.
Yeah.
And now they're in like some old lady's house.
Yes. There's a great Jim Gaffigan like comedy thing. He was like, my dog used to run wild on a beach. Now he lives in a 2-bedroom apartment. He hates me.
But like here in the United States, and even not all of the United States, right? I know Hawaii has issues with wild dogs.
Southern part of the United States.
The southeastern part of the
Carolina
States.
dog.
Yeah. I mean, you've got, and again, kind of like the Japan thing at the beginning of the episode, it's very much a cultural difference.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely.
The people in the South, they see their dog less as a pet than they do a hunting companion or a farm animal.
Yeah.
Right.
And not everybody, obviously. But up here in New England, we don't have feral dogs. If there is a feral dog, it's definitely not a pack.
No, and if there's a loose dog, you damn well know someone's going to pull over the side of the road and grab it and throw it in their car. So yeah, but honestly, if we did have feral dogs, I would treat them the same thing. I would treat them the same. Yeah. I love my dog. Yeah. I love my dog, and I would never want anyone to do anything awful to it. But I also understand, as a conservationist and a naturalist, that we cannot have these animals running around causing population decline.
Yeah.
But if we do want a canid to return to the
the wolf would be a good candidate.
I'm just saying.
We're big rewilders here. You know, we're big on that.
But cats, mountain lions.
They're already eating them.
That'll be an episode.
Long tail cat.
I guess kind of the last thing I really want to bring up, unless you guys have anything after.
I will say one thing real quick. Yeah. A great point that you can bring up to people that you don't have to talk about the killing of the invasives. Mm-hmm. That can just be like, hey, keep your cat indoors. If you have a red-eared slider turtle or a goldfish that you can no longer take care of, don't release it to the wild.
Right. Find a new, bring it to a shelter.
Yeah. Find a home for it. You know, I think those are probably the three biggest pet to invasive pipelines.
And even just like talking about pets, like if you're considering getting a pet, something crazy like a red-eared slider or, God forbid, a Burmese python.
Yeah.
Do your research.
Yeah.
Realize that a lot of these animals, your average everyday Joe cannot properly keep, because this little snake might look tiny and cute in a little plastic container at the reptile expo, but in a few years this thing could outgrow your bathtub. You're not going to be able to care for it properly, and, and also somebody could get seriously injured or killed with some of these animals. So doing the research ahead of time could prevent a lot of these invasive species even reaching these ecosystems in the first place.
I mean, we've all taken in.
I've taken in so many red-eared sliders.
Yeah.
It's such a horrible
We've all
problem.
taken in animals that people can't care for anymore, right?
And to me, the red-eared slider is very personal because I go to like ponds and I see red-eared sliders. And I'm like, those are either escape pets or descendant of escape pets.
Right.
And they'll compete are
they're
endangered
bigger,
native turtles.
They're bigger, they're faster, they're pissier.
Yeah. So I think that's a great, if you're having trouble, like, well, how am I going to tell these people to shoot feral cats? Maybe you should just be like, well, keep your cat inside. And then we can go down a little bit more if they want.
Right.
I'm not saying shoot feral cats. I'm saying follow your laws. And also New Zealand has protected its wildlife and put them as a priority over people's outdoor cats.
Let's just say, do you want a kakapo or do you want a tabby?
I'm just saying.
But yeah, I guess kind of the last thing I wanted to bring up is, as zoos, like as zookeepers, should we have a responsibility not just to educate about them, but to provide a place where people can see these animals, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of people say, well, if it's invasive, why do you have it? And so like, especially in Florida with Burmese pythons, I know a lot of zoos in Florida have Burmese pythons. Obviously, there are laws about they can't be kept outside anymore. They have to be completely indoors.
Yeah.
But I know places like Disney's Animal Kingdom opened up a Burmese python enclosure not too long ago.
Yep.
Gatorland has Burmese pythons.
Florida Aquarium.
I'm sure Zoo Tampa does. I'm sure Zoo Miami does. So is it ethical, not just for the animal, but is it right for us as a zoo to maintain these species for any kind of reason? Right?
I think one of the best examples I can think of is the San Diego Zoo has this whole trail of animals that are equivalent to the Pleistocene animals, and they have feral horses there, which is hilarious. There's just a horse and a donkey there, or horses and donkeys. But I think it's a great way to educate folks about them. I definitely think that we should have them. I don't know if we should have breeding programs. I don't think zoos need to breed Burmese pythons.
Right.
They can go.
There's enough people doing that.
Yeah,
you can find plenty.
Yeah, or red-eared sliders, whatever. But I think it's definitely important that people see them and are educated, because I think a lot of people it is kind of in the back of people's mind. But this is an important thing. Look here, the West Virginia Safari Park has or West Virginia Wildlife Park, has wild boar, which I think is a great animal. That very few zoos have wild boar.
Right.
I don't know if they're just aggressive and are they hard to keep? We keep warthogs and we keep Red River hogs, but wild boar are too hard.
Yeah.
Anyways, we keep polar bears. We should be able to keep a wild boar. Anyways, those are great species that we can have. I definitely don't think. Well, here's a good question though. They might be taking up space of an endangered SSP animal though too.
Good.
I just thought about that because my precious Red River hogs, I need to manage them in the captive population. What is this dirty wild boar doing taking up that space? But I think it's important that zoos really need to balance the conservation and the education.
Yeah,
those are really important to do.
I think in places especially in places like Florida, it is important to have those. I think most zoos should have a Burmese python, an iguana, a tegu,
feral cat.
But there should be places that have in Florida that have those things. And I think for most other zoos, if I was to open a zoo in New England, and if I had a Burmese python, that would very much be because it's cool.
Yeah,
right. There would not be a ton of education. I mean, I could teach about in Florida, and that's what I do with the Burms that I currently work with, is I tie it back to that. But
But you could have mute swans,
right.
nasty invasive.
Yep.
Yeah, Quinn really hates mute swans,
You
guys.
can't even hunt them.
Damn,
A great
Migratory Bird Act.
a great example of a species that, because of its beauty, is preserved. And they are
Right.
beautiful, but we have,
They cause a lot of ecological damage.
and we could restore the trumpeter swan,
Right.
which is a much better
Right.
native
And
swan.
a beautiful bird.
That's a lot less aggressive towards native
Yeah.
waterfowl.
Yeah.
Yep.
But anyways,
I knew mute swan would find its way.
And same thing with red-eared sliders.
Yeah.
There's so many prettier turtles. Like just here in Maine alone.
spotted turtle,
Spotted turtle, wood
beautiful,
turtle,
beautiful.
painted turtle,
Yeah,
blanding.
It's in the name, painted turtle.
Blanding's turtle.
Yeah.
Even the common snapping turtle is
It's
like
cool.
a really interesting looking animal. So I think that ultimately, if I was to open the zoo here, having those animals is less important
Mhm.
and kind of fits that cool factor. And I mean, Burmese pythons are endangered. So
That's true.
Um,
It's a whole other thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
But would having a red-eared slider in a zoo in New England be as important as head starting, a wood turtle program?
Yeah.
I don't see a justification for that.
Yeah.
But I do think that zoos should maintain at least locally invasive
Yeah.
species
For sure.
for the educational value to show people.
And if nothing else, they're easy to acquire.
Right.
People are always trying to get rid of those animals.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm thinking like I don't know. I don't remember. It's been a few years since I've been to New England Aquarium, but like they could easily do green crabs.
Oh
Mhm.
yeah.
Like if they want to find
easy.
green crabs, they can go outside the aquarium and scoop up some sand from the
Yeah.
ocean. They're guaranteed to find
or a
some.
carp,
Carp, yeah, like because I think some of the worst invasives are aquatics,
Mhm.
invasive
Yeah.
species.
Well, those are ones too that people don't really think about.
Well, you think like every time I've gone fishing throughout my life, a lot of those boat ramps, they always have like the zebra
The
mussels.
zebra mussel thing.
It's like make sure you wash your boat before going to the next pond or whatever, because it's to prevent the spread of those guys. But
Yeah. There's all sorts of invasives.
Yeah, and then also like I think zoos could have cats.
I don't see it's bad. We've always talked about how zoos and shelters really got to link up and start working with each other.
Like imagine being in a children's zoo. Let's take Franklin Park's Children's Zoo. You have a barn.
we did. Have
They
a barn
could
cat.
easily have a barn cat,
We
right?
used to, yeah,
Waldo,
well done.
R.I.P.
Yeah.
If anyone knew Waldo, R.I.P.
But having it like on exhibit and have information about. I actually think Roger Williams did a good job about that with their serval enclosure.
Oh yeah,
They have.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it
We
yet.
have to go to
Yeah,
Roger Williams.
yeah.
But they have they have a serval next to an African aviary, but all the education is about birds and cats interactions.
That's a great example of conservation.
And they didn't need a domestic cat and fucking house sparrows and European starlings to teach about it. They were able to teach about that topic using a serval, which is probably a savanna cat, if we're being honest.
Yeah.
And then some, I think they have like moths or something.
I think you're right.
So I think there's ways to do it, and I think that having invasive species, managing them makes sense. And I just think as zoos, we have to be understanding with the fact that people get sensitive about killing animals.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, managing wildlife involves killing.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things that, our goal in life, in our career, is to keep animals alive. And so it kind of feels contradictory, and it kind of feels like we're going against what we're supposed to do when we advocate for, killing animals.
But it's reality of conservation.
Mm-hmm.
The whole natural cycle requires life and death.
Right.
The two are intertwined.
Yeah.
No.
It's a hard. Maybe the family on their Sunday afternoon visit to the zoo doesn't want to be reminded that, but I think it's an important thing to tie that. Like people love seeing big cats, people love seeing birds of prey, people love seeing these charismatic carnivores.
Mhm.
We cannot forget that they're designed and they're linked to like a process that many people find very upsetting.
Mhm.
I think that's a really important thing that many zoos do a good job of.
Yeah, I mean, most zoos. I've seen so many enclosures with like a fake dead zebra in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those
Did
are-
Disney have one?
Yeah, I think they did.
It might have.
I think the wild dog / hyena exhibit.
Yeah, I think they have like a skeleton.
Yeah.
I don't think there's skin on it. That's probably too.
The blood is, if the blood was green, it wouldn't be an issue. Yeah.
Atlanta had a zebra.
Maybe
in
that's
the,
what I was thinking. I think you had a picture. of
Yeah,
it.
Atlanta had zebra in with the vultures,
Yeah.
which is fun.
Just put just put a carcass in there. But a lot of places, like if you see on the social media, they're like, warning, carcass feeding.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's kind of them.
Yeah.
Right.
However, it's a tiger. You know.
What do you think they
What
do?
do you think? And it's way better for them than the tubes of ground meat. Sorry, Nebraska. The tubes of ground meat.
Ground horse meat.
Ground horse meat. You know, they're eating horses whether you can tell or not. So might as well just look at it.
All right, one more real quick topic.
Yes.
And I think it's the most important one, and that is humans.
Oh.
And this is a stance that I have stood on business with for years.
I love this topic.
Are humans an invasive species?
Can I take this one? Or are you going to say it?
I mean, you can start it.
All right. No, they are not invasive. People are like, humans are invasive. If we want to go to very definitions of them, so it, not to get too whatever, but you can tie saying humans are invasive into deeply racist ideas and things like that.
No, it's straight up eco-fascism.
Yeah, it's like old, like after Darwinism, like racism justifying human beings. Let's say in our part of Maine, human beings. How many thousands of years
have humans been around?
Yeah, and they are incredibly important here for managing populations of deer and moose and other wildlife. Like they have been here managing those populations. They also, in our part of the world, have a really important role of burning the landscape. So that's a really important thing. A lot of people don't think. Prescribed fire. Native Americans created huge swaths of prescribed fire. They would burn landscapes. They would, and basically like rejuvenated the soil, and it would create young successional forest habitat that's really tender and really good for a lot of these animals. And a lot of the species that we consider to be endangered or rare in this part of the world is because they're lacking the open field and the shrubland habitat that's caused by open fires, because the ecological human is no longer there.
Right.
So, you know, people ask, like, well, how can I help the ecosystem? I was like, you could, sounds silly, but you could set your woods on fire. You know?
You could burn it.
Yeah, and that really helped. You could hunt deer. Like I'm a zookeeper, I'm an animal lover, but I'm also a hunter, and like I understand that.
Not a good one. But.
Well, yeah, I do miss most of the time, but that's an important role. And even people like, well, there's no wolves or mountain lions here in New England anymore. Well, there's wolves, mountain lions, and humans hunting deer for thousands upon thousands of years. This is a very natural process. Humans, and to say that humans are invasive is to say that like Aborigines don't belong in the outback, or the native tribes of the Amazon rainforest don't belong,
or the Maasai of Eastern Africa, Tanzania and Kenya,
or just the indigenous Americans.
Any indigenous culture, they're like, well, they're not supposed to.
So, can you make an argument that colonialism has deeply affected the environment? Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
But can we say that humans, and ultimately, speaking as a white guy living in the United States of America, I'm here, you know, we're here.
Right.
There's nothing that I can say about our forefathers 300, 400 years ago, and how colonialism affected people. And absolutely, colonialism is bad. I don't think any of us are going to argue that. And if you do, you will see one less person on the podcast.
That would be a weird. I'm a pro-colonialist racist.
Right.
They are out there, though.
Episode 3, Quinn is gone.
Where'd Quinn go? So you can, and this isn't a political podcast, so I'll try to keep my my politics out of it as much as possible. But you can look at it and say, did colonialism cause damage not just to the people but to the ecosystem? And yes, that is a undeniable fact. Is colonialism possibly the most evil thing ever in history?
It's caused a lot of suffering.
It's up there.
Yep.
But are humans as a species, because you got to remember, no matter what your race is, no matter what your creed is, your religion, any of it, we all belong to Homo sapiens sapiens.
Yeah, we are the same. We're the same.
So humans, being a migratory species that originated in the Fertile Crescent of Africa and spread out naturally over thousands of years, utilizing land bridges that no longer exist, humans moved naturally. We are a migratory species. Are we introduced to North America? I guess if you're speaking to a woolly mammoth, possibly we are.
A lot of time has passed, though, you know.
But humans have been here long enough that we are a native species, in the same way that dingoes are native to Australia. They've been here so long, and they've ingrained themselves into the niche, which, you know, given 10,000 years, could domestic cats find a niche where they become a native species, yeah, over tens of thousands of years, that is
we operate in the now.
right. But will the animals make it to that point?
Yeah.
We have been here so long that humans are not invasive, and it's not purposely eco-fascist for a lot of people. But you sound like Nick Fuentes when you say it. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, and then you're like, well, you're killing cats. We should be culling people too.
Right.
Like, that's not what we're saying.
That's eugenics, actually, and that's bad.
And also, a cat needs to kill because it's a cat. You can get above your higher power and go, you know what? I'm going to change this lawn and turn it into native wildflowers.
Yeah.
I'm going to do prescribed fires.
Right.
I'm going to hunt white-tailed deer, and I'm going to push my legislation so I can shoot mute swans eventually. But John, do you have any?
Honestly, I pretty much agree with you. What you guys said is pretty much everything I was about to say.
Yeah.
But the human species, our human species, because there's been many throughout history, we've just naturally over thousands of years have just dispersed, originally, all across Europe and Asia. And then of course, when the Bering Sea Bridge emerged, that's when we decided to go over to the Americas. So it's no different than a lot of migratory species often, I'm just trying to think.
Cattle egret's a great example.
Yeah.
Like they migrated from Africa and
now they're found on every
they're found
continent
everywhere.
except Antarctica.
So, yes, like these guys said, have humans caused a lot of damage to ecological systems? Unfortunately, yes. But a lot of us are doing it like unintentionally, not that makes it better, but we just naturally over time, we just made ourselves there. A greater being did not place us here in New England and said, have fun, guys. Like we kick out be like feral cats. Like, no, that's not how it worked.
Right.
Because I've heard the argument so many times, like, humans are the most invasive worst species. And I understand where people are coming from because we've caused so much ecological damage. But it's kind of like what I mentioned earlier in the podcast. It's like people often just only scratch the surface of the topic. They don't dive deeper into the reality.
Because if you did dive deeper, you get into some really uncomfortable truths.
Yeah. I think the lesson here is that you guys should all participate in your local ecosystem. Mm-hmm. Become the functional human being that is important for where you live.
Yep.
And I don't know where it is for every place, so you got to figure that out yourself. In Maine, you need to light stuff on fire.
I mean, at the end of the day, humans are not invasive. Don't go around saying humans are invasive. Our damages are caused by things like civilization, things by like industrialization, capitalism. These are things that
don't get me started on capitalism.
These are the things that.
God damn it! It's episode 2.
Next episode from Cuba.
We're looking for the ivory-billed woodpecker. No other reason we're in Cuba, guys. That was a deep cut for anybody.
But yeah, I mean, can we say that humans have caused damage 100%? Mm-hmm. Can we say that was caused by humans as a species more than our fundamental lifestyle?
Yeah.
No. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, should zoos have invasive species? Should zoos advocate for eradicating invasive species? I think the answer to that is pretty unequivocally yes.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
Yes, and be careful.
Yeah. So as a zookeeper, next time that someone yells at you for saying that their Fluffy would never kill a frog, just remember you're the right one.
Yes.
Don't listen to them.
With that said, anything else you guys want to add?
I don't think so. I think we pretty much covered everything.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's going to start snowing here in about an hour, and you guys have a long drive.
We got to get going.
So we're going to wrap this up. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back at some point, maybe. And check out. Eventually, I'll post the link that when the edited versions go.
We'll get a more structured schedule at some point, so you guys can know when to expect an episode to air. And like I said, we'll try to pre-record these rather than doing them live.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that said, thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you guys next time.